Alfred, prepare the Batmobile. I'm going to Target. Where are they?
Killing is making a choice.
Where are they?
Hey Batman fans, thanks so much for clicking on this video. My name is Chris. Ignore the ugly white cord here. The old Bat Pad needed to be charged for this pretty interesting news we just got. What we're going to be talking about today, guys, is the Batman has had its first screening at Warner Brothers, and we have here our first bit of reactions from a lucky someone who got to see the movie and broke their NDA that they had with Warner Brothers of, I promise I won't tell a single soul. And this is all non-spoilers. I wouldn't be making a video about this if it was spoiler-filled, so I don't think this will ruin your excitement for the Batman or take away any surprises from the movie. But I'm gonna need your guys' opinions down below. What do you think of this first reaction for the Batman? Reminder, this is only one person's opinion. After the movie comes out, everybody can have a completely different opinion, but I don't know, some of the stuff he's saying really lines up with what I would love this Batman movie to be. As well as don't be forgetting to hit that like button, subscribe for more great movie-related content. It is kind of feeling like a DC day, so might bust out a Flash video later today. Alright, so the source of how we're finding this out, everybody is questioning, but I'm gonna tell you guys straight up, this guy, although is not a scooper, is not a journalist or someone in the industry, goes by the username at Blu-ray Angel, is one of the most positive, heartwarming people in the Batman or movie community. So positive and heartwarming, in fact, that even Matt Reeves himself, the director of the Batman, retweeted his reaction to the trailer when it came out just because the guy was that ecstatic for it. He's the one that's claiming that he knows someone who was at the screening and was happy to tell him a couple little tidbits of information, and then he was happy enough to share it with us. So some people might be like, who the heck is this guy? But trust me when I say this guy's such a nice, positive person in the community, I don't see why he would lie about this to just bring up some false hope for fans. Alright, but without further ado, these are some details that we just found out about with the movie. The overall round-off quote to how to describe the Batman, he says, is the Batman movie is a horror movie. Very graphic, very dark, very scary. Paul Dano is effing crazy, so effing scary, I love every second. Come on now, you're talking to a big horror movie fan right here, and you're telling me we're getting a Batman movie that feels like a horror film? Oh, that's awesome, and kind of makes sense from what we've been seeing from the Batman trailers. The Riddler in this movie is going to be putting their victims in jigsaw-like scenarios where if they want to make it out alive, they have to complete some sort of task. Specifically, like we see there's a guy who has a bomb implanted on him and he has to drive through what seems to be a funeral and hand a message to the Batman. I think that's the stuff he's talking about where it feels like a horror movie. It's also very graphic. I mean, just going back and thinking about the fact that someone is literally going to get their face duct taped up, and either that's how they die from suffocation or that's just what he does after the body's dead. That seems like some very graphic stuff to me, and it's finally a side of Batman we haven't seen all that much about. Because we saw in the trailer just how badly he beat up one of the thugs that'll be part of this movie, and at CinemaCon they revealed a little bit more of footage, and Robert Pattinson along with that footage was saying that Batman is basically taking out his anger on criminals, makes it feel a little personal. So it's not just gonna be the Riddler scaring us up. I think this Batman will be frightening us. But let's continue on with some of the more details he says here. He says the cut they saw of the Batman is 3 hours long. A 3-hour-long Batman movie, that is as much Batman as I would love to have in my life. Also lets me know the story in this movie has to be pretty meaty to fill up that 3-hour length. Now keep in mind, this is an early rough cut of the movie. The purpose of these test screenings is so that they can figure out what works in the movie, what doesn't work, what they need to cut away, what maybe they need to reshoot. So it could be very likely that the cut we eventually see might be 10-15 minutes below that. But still, if the movie is nearing 3 hours, that's a good sign that plenty of Batman is headed our way. As far as commenting on Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman, this is what they said. Their thoughts on Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman. I have a million things to say about Catwoman. She's my favorite. Holy... definitely my favorite Catwoman. And I feel like that says a lot because we've had tons of live action Catwomans in the Batman history, all the way back to the 60s Batman series, to Michael Keaton's Batman, to then Christian Bale's Batman, and now we're getting Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman. I'm really curious to see what differentiates her from all the other Catwomans of the past. Are they gonna play up that whole love relationship like they love to do in Batman movies with Catwoman and Batman, or will this be different where it is more of a you're kind of in my way and I don't care if you're a girl, or extremely attractive meow? A couple of thoughts on Robert Pattinson himself as Batman. They say their thoughts on Robert Pattinson's Batman voice. His voice was perfect in my opinion. We only just got taste of Robert Pattinson's voice in that Batman trailer, but I think it was the drop of the mic that a lot of people had who were doubting Robert Pattinson and still saw him as the Twilight Boy because they weren't seeing all his other new movies. That the second he beat up a thug and then said the words, vengeance, people were like, oh, okay, yeah, this guy can be Batman, and he's gonna be a great Batman. And even though I would have said the Batman voice is a big deal and would really affect the character, if we go back to something like Christian Bale, who people love and admire, his Batman voice has sort of become the comedic take to where I go back and I watch those Christian Bale Batman movies and I just kind of laugh a little bit because of how much people have mimicked that voice. But still, if you were curious about his voice, just know that it sounds good to this guy. Now, this is one I've been curious about, the Batmobile, because there's been a lot of controversy amongst Batman fans about this new Batmobile. And short and sweet, their thoughts on the Robert Pattinson Batmobile. Holy effing, that effing Slade. I'm guessing this guy's maybe on the younger side here.
Slay! Slay! Slay!
I was one when they showed us the first look at the Batmobile that I loved it, not only because I am a guy who enjoys muscle cars, but I also yearned back to the days where the Batmobile was literally just a car. But from recent Batman movies, they kind of revolutionized that and either turned it into a tank or this just unbelievably big old heaping car, to then scaling it back down to a put together car by Robert Pattinson himself. At least that's the details we've been told about his Bruce Wayne, that he basically makes all his tech instead of getting it from his company or someone like a Lucius Fox. I want to see this thing in action, drive around the streets of Gotham, and how it's more useful to him than a giant tank that barely fits on the road. Two more tidbits of details that he let us know. One is if there's a setup to a sequel at the end. He says here, I just asked if the Batman sets up for a sequel. Here's what they said. Yes, def a sequel. That's the moment I genuinely felt like they're gonna start a whole collection of raw Pat movies and circle through different villains maybe. That's the only way you do a Batman trilogy. And you know what? I say trilogy, but this person here is saying a whole collection of Batman movies. Warner Brothers is at a point where they know, hey, Batman just tends to make a lot of money. If we make solo Batman movies and do it the right way, people will show up, they'll make bank. So instead of just planning for a trilogy and then waiting 3-4 years and then rebooting it with whatever actor is hot then, why not see how much we can squeeze out of one actor, Hugh Jackman style, and make him Batman for as long as possible? I feel like that's the mentality that Warner Brothers has to have right now with Robert Pattinson's Batman, and why they got someone fairly on the younger side, where this movie is starting out with Batman in his second year of crime fighting. So to have it say here that they do set up for a sequel and it feels like it'll be a collection of villains, that gets me so excited because there's so many that we haven't seen done or even reinvented. Because like, I got a kick out of Arnold Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze back in the day, but a serious version of that character with the origin similar to the animated series, that has Oscar potential in my opinion. Maybe even some lesser known background Batman characters that we never really thought about could be given the spotlight. But here for their final statement on this Batman movie, they say there's a scene at the end that literally had everyone screaming. Everyone gasped like it was a big no way for everyone. I don't give a F about Batman or DC. I even clenched onto a knee and was shook. The biggest mic drop. Just hearing that makes me so upset that this movie is several freaking months away. The fact that he mentions the Batman movie and the climax or towards the end of the film is just this big hypertension moment that the audience will be screaming at, clenching at their knees, all accumulating to a big old mic drop either from the Batman or whatever other villain is on screen. Should really give you an idea of how great Matt Reeves is crafting this movie and setting it all up. As far as what it could be, man, I have no idea. Whether this is connected to the Riddler and what was happening, whether maybe it's a secret villain that was hidden from all the marketing thus far, because there's rumors the Joker somehow makes an appearance in this movie, whether we want to believe that or not. But I feel like not every big moment in Batman's history has to involve the Joker. But that is just some of the early reactions we have to Robert Pattinson's Batman. Come October, we are going to be getting a lot more Batman. They're going to be releasing some new stuff at DC Fandome, maybe a poster finally. Who knows if they'll release a trailer or maybe even a clip of the film. But next year, man, watching the Batman, this is what people thought about it. I want to know what you guys think. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at 3C Films. But as always, I'm Chris. Take care.